Okay, welcome. Thank you for coming to this diversity talk. We're going to talk about diversity in IT. And diversity is not a problem just and only in the IT world. It's a problem which is much wider. But we can't change the whole world in one go. So let's try and change our world. My colleague Wouter Groenewald and me, we've been giving this talk at a few conferences now. And it's largely caused because we went to conference ourselves and ran into situations where we didn't feel comfortable, didn't feel welcome. I remember my first conference where I ever went to. I felt so out of place. I was completely out of my comfort zone. I didn't know anyone. I was one of the 4 women out of 400 people. And I was so happy that I'd known through online contact with the PHP Women Network, some people who I could go up to and say, "Hi, we know each other from online." And they made me feel welcome. If it hadn't been for them, I would never have come back to a conference. And that's the essence of diversity. Making sure that everyone, no matter gender, no matter background, no matter mental stability, feels welcome, feels part of the community.
Who likes to have fun with other people? Oh, yes, I do. But on the other hand, who has ever felt alone? So, I grew up in a small city, small town actually, and the thing with growing up in a small town is quite fun because everybody knows each other and that's fine, but when you feel out of place, feel that you don't belong there, it's not that great. So, I was bullied there my entire life. I know how it feels to be alone. But then, who remembers this one? This is my first computer. It was a 486. And it was awesome. You know why? Because it didn't judge me. If it made a mistake, it was because I did. Not because it didn't like me, thought I was a smart ass, or thought I shouldn't be there. So, computers don't judge, and I think we can learn a little bit from that. Because now, it's 2016, and I work for a great communication agency. That's fun. So I managed to get my way out. But somehow, still, this voice in my mind that says, we can put people on the moon with our specialism. We can make self-driving cars. But we can't make everybody feel welcome. I can get my head around that, and it still keeps puzzling and try to find solutions for that. And I think together with all the small things that we can do, we can make a change in that.
So let's have a look at what diversity is. It encompasses a lot more than most people think. So to illustrate, we're just going to talk about our diversity for a little and see if that resonates with you.
Well, I'm male.
And I'm a woman.
Well, I'm 30 years old.
And I've celebrated my 27th birthday for the 16th time.
I'm white.
And so am I.
I'm Caucasian.
And I'm of Jewish descent.
I'm agnostic.
Well, let's call myself a spiritual humanist.
I'm slim built, and back in the days they used to call me the living corpse.
I'm quite glad he's still around. And as you might see, I'm a bit more curvy.
I suffer from depression.
And I can be hypersensitive.
I'm heterosexual.
And I love people. Let's leave it at that.
And as I told you, I grew up in a small village and now I live in a town.
I grew up in a one-parent family. And now I live in The big city Amsterdam, yeah!
Yeah, and this is the first talk that I've prepared, and I've given it at several conferences.
And as some of you might know, I'm a bit more experienced speaker.
And I now work for a communication agency, which is great.
I'm self-employed.
But we're
We
developers.
are developers.
And we are
love
diverse.
diversity. Did this resonate with you? Did this bring up some idea of your own diversity? And that diversity is a lot more than what most people focus on, which is gender, more often than not. The whole thing about diversity, it's not about being equal. None of us are. We're not the same. But it is about treating each other as equals. Treating each other as fellow developers, as fellow professionals. Treating each other as equals. And you might now think, yeah, but what's in it for me? Why would I care? A good question to ask. Well, we're going to try and build the case for you on that as well. So you can build a case for your management and tell them why they should care. First of all, quality. Every single research has shown that the quality of work will improve. And it's quite simple. What is the thing we do as developers on as our daily work? We think in scenarios. What will our users want to do with our programming? What will our users want to do with our website or with our API? When Twitter first created an API, they had no idea people would start posting images. But services started using the API to post images to Twitter. Twitter then did something silly and took over and killed it. But that's another matter. What we do is think in scenario, what would our user want to do? And our imagination is limited. The more people from diverse backgrounds we have in our team, the more different scenarios we'll get to start with. And therefore, the quality of our software from the very beginning will be better than when we didn't have that diversity. Does this make sense?
So I like to think always about some practical things, and it's these small changes that you can make in the software, because we are the ones that make the software for our users. We are the ones that make them feel welcome. So when the ASCII Foundation proposed the emojis, they didn't think of it. And afterwards, they extended them with different ethnicities, with different skin tones, and with different relationship statuses. And that are the small things that make people feel welcome. So I'm a vegetarian, and when I go to a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, I have to make some kind of excuse, kind of thingy in the note box that says, oh, I'm really sorry for your cook, but you can't use meat and fish and... That makes me feel shitty about going to a restaurant. And as a software developer, it's almost as easy to make as this one, where I can just make a checkbox and say, oh, it's not an excuse for the cook. It's not an excuse. I can just put a checkbox on it and we're fine. So it's the scope that you have to think when you make your software. On the same time, I have to make a lot of forms. So a lot of them imply which gender are you. So it's male or female. But in the world where we live in today, maybe this is a better option for your audience and for your target audience, or even the one on the right. And Facebook, on the other hand, who likes to parse everything and make a pattern out of that, currently has 71 options for gender. And I don't think you should be like Facebook and make 71 options, but just think about this problem and which solution you should get by your target audience to make everybody feel welcome. Just a little bit more thinking, and all these small things, they add up. And when you look at it from the other side, some companies like to think out of the box, and I think this is a great example of that.
And then we're talking economy. Again, we went into the research and we read more research than I wanted to or ever knew that what existed about diversity. But the end result was that I found that every single research showed that companies will actually be more successful. And if you look at the economy now, there is a massive shortage of IT people. And the most job openings for IT people. The skills match, or rather the skills mismatch, is enormous. If we want to actually fill those positions, we need to open up our industry to people from different backgrounds. We need to make more people feel welcome, so they will join our industry and we will actually be able to make the growth which is projected. The projected growth for this industry is somewhere around 30% for the next few years. Depends which research you look. That 30% already takes into account outsourcing to low-income countries. And it's still 30% in the other countries as well. So both of those areas will have growth. At the same time, it hasn't taken into account disruptive growth. And what have we seen in the past 10 to 20 years in the IT industry? Nothing but disruptive growth. We've seen the startup of internet and the boom and the explosion of things which needed to be done because of the internet. We've seen ERP, we've seen the rise of mobile appliances. All we've seen is explosive growth, disruptive growth. And the chance that the growth of our industry will not be 30% but 250% because of that is enormous. We will not be able to actually make that growth if we don't step up and make our industry more inclusive. Still make sense? Success. I started with the wrong bit just before, but yeah, again, research has shown more companies with more diversity are more successful. And success in that sense is defined with lots of different variables. Economic measurements like profit, but also growth in new markets, company growth, employee happiness, customer satisfaction. Every single one of those measurements will improve with more diversity. And not just at the ground level, but at all levels in the company. It's been proven that if there's at least one woman in the board of the company, it will already change the way the company does business and make a difference. And I mention a woman, but it's not just women, obviously. It is diversity in the widest sense of the word.
So, we read about the guys and girls at Spotify, and they said, oh, this diversity thing, it's really big, and we need to embrace this, but it's going slow. And at Spotify, they don't like slow. They like fast. They're a young company, and they like fast. So they said, oh, we want to organize a hackathon, and we want to make at least a 50-50 ratio of diversity. So how are we going to do that? And what they did is they took some other language bias. So instead of looking for skilled programmers, they looked for passionate people, and they put out Facebook ads instead of just advertising it on GitHub, and they put trainings to use Git for their hackathon. And all these small things, they added up. They took out the battle thing out of the hackathon because they did some research and they found out that women were less attracted to having a competitive part in a hackathon. And in the end, they managed to get a 50-50% ratio for their hackathon, not only by male and female, so not only by gender, but also by different ethnicities and by different skin tones and other kind of things. So that worked out great for them. And some of the most lovely reviews that I read about it is, well, I think I won this hackathon because I made friends. And I think that's the best thing.
Are you convinced we need more diversity? Yeah? You're all going to talk to management and make them change their mind as well? Convince them as well? Okay. To change something, I always believe we need to understand why we are where we are now. Because if we understand it, it's easier to change the underlying reasons, the underlying emotions, and to address those. So I'm going to take a little time now to talk about understanding why we are in a state of diversity in the IT industry where we are now. Has anyone ever seen this letter? And I think it's a bit small on this screen, but it's basically a letter from the 70s from LEGO, and I'm not talking about what they're doing now, but LEGO in the 70s did something very right. What they said was basically, parents, no matter whether your kids are male, female, white, colored, doesn't matter. Please let them build and play with our tools and enjoy it and grow by doing so. They tried to make LEGO an all-inclusive product. They did something right there. And if we look at the history of IT, there was a lot of things going right there as well. If you look at this tweet, how many people of you know the names which are associated with these roles? 2 people know, 3? Okay, well, if you want to find out the names afterwards, come and find us. But basically, in the history of our industry, there were a lot of people with different backgrounds, and that was awesome. But for some reason, that changed, and that changed basically around 80s. And the reason of why it changed was because of the personal computer. The personal computer was marketed, and I'm going to have to see if this is going to work, because there is a little video here. Yep.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Because the Commodore is keeping up with you. In a world of fun and fantasy, and ever-changing views, and computer terminology, Commodore is news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Because the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Because the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Very clearly marketed as something for men. Very clearly marketed also, if you look at the family constellations of that time, to the person earning the money. Because most of the time, at that time, the family was a woman at home with the kids, a husband outside the house earning the money. It was marketed to its boys, rich boy toys, for the people who could afford it. And that's a logical choice, but it did change the way people became interested in IT. It made people feel like this is not something I'm not the target audience, so why should I be interested? And it made the figures drop off, the people going into the industry. What we need are role models. And if you look at popular media, the role models there, I don't know whether you recognize some of them on the slide, but basically, if there are any role models at all, they're used as comic relief. We need more role models. We all know what Indiana Jones has done for the in-stream of students into the field of archaeology. We know what CSI has done to the in-stream of people wanting to study forensic sciences. We need heroes in the media to motivate more people of different backgrounds to start studying and to start coming into the industry. And if we then look at real-life role models, they often don't step up either. Just a check. Out of the 6 people on the slide here, how many of you recognize all 6? 3 of them? 2 of them? 1? Okay. These are the top management of our industry. These are real-life role models. And the reason why they don't often speak up about their diversity is similar to what we all experience. They will be saying, yeah, but you only got that role because of it. No, they didn't. They got that role because they earned it. They got that role because they're bloody good at what they do. But they still have to struggle against the same prejudice. So they keep quiet. If you, by the way, if anyone has a question after, about why we put these people on the slides, of the diversity of any of them, come and find us afterwards. And prejudice and personal background is something we all have experienced one way or another. As a woman, when I grew up, I was always taught, be wary of large groups of men. They will rape you. So you're very careful of your personal safety. Now, what happens when I go into a room at an IT conference or an IT meetup? Large groups of men. And intuitively, my initial reaction is this, literally stepping back. And I will step forward again. I'm still in this industry. I know I've earned my place. But being aware that everyone has their personal history will make it easier to make people feel at ease. Because these things are things which make people uncomfortable because of their personal history. Similarly, what about this lady? I don't know whether any of you have read this story or heard of it. This is a story which was in the news last year. A lady, a banker, vice president at a bank in the US. She was driving her BMW through New York, Harlem, and got stopped by the police. And they were asking, well, what are you doing with a BMW here in Harlem? And she was like, well, I'm going to see some friends and family. Why? Well, you're a black woman, you're driving a brand new BMW. Yeah, it's mine, it's my company car. I'm vice president at this bank. We don't believe you. You know, look at Twitter, Obama follows me. We don't believe you. She got locked up in a psych ward for 8 days before someone finally took the time to check her story out and found that all of it was true. This is prejudice. This is why people are often wary of meeting new groups of people, of meeting new people. Why we need to make an effort to make people feel extra welcome. Make sense? And just in our own industry, even logic algorithms have prejudice just the same. So we keep running into it everywhere. And even the cartoonists confirm that that prejudice is still around in this industry. So, having said all that, people still come into this industry and then leave. They persevere, they do study IT, they go into the industry, and then they leave. And people will say, oh yeah, but that's because they want to have children, or you know, because they got another opportunity somewhere else. No, it's literally because they don't feel welcome. Because they don't feel they belong. It's because of the culture. It's because they feel they have to be twice as good to get half the appreciation of anyone else. It's a culture. And we all say it's a merit culture. Is that the right slide now? Okay. But that's the right slide. We all say it's a merit culture. It's not. Merit culture is a myth. We say it's a merit culture. We say that the best of the best will prove themselves by just literally looking at what they do. But how do you measure? Do you measure by the number of commits someone has made? By the number of support questions they've answered? Do you measure by the number of blog posts they've posted or the number of times they've spoken at a conference? Do you measure by how many repositories they have in whatever version management system you use? What about all the people who don't blog because they're just not a blogger? What about all the people who measure things in different ways, or who want to spend their spare time rather with their family because they find that as important as well? It doesn't make them worse programmers. It just makes them people who are less visible as good programmers. Do we discount them? If merit culture only works if you measure with a completely unbiased system, and no system is unbiased in that sense. So it's a myth. And all the IT companies still try to say, yeah, but we want the best of the best. We want a code wrangler. We want a ninja. We want a rock star. Well, how many of you can play the guitar? Do you feel yourself feel a rock star because of it? No. Can you code better because of it? Okay. What they're recruiting for are only the top 10%, the top performers. If you look at nearly every advertisement, you'll see they're really just recruiting for the top. But those top performers can only perform at their best with the 90% enablers to help them do that. And discounting everyone who is not visibly a top performer is just silly and not healthy for our industry. And yeah, more people are just tired of seeing this happening. They want to feel welcome, they want to feel appreciated for what they do and what they can do, not for being different. And a lot of that is language bias. If you look at advertisements, people have been sending us ads since we've started doing this talk, ads for jobs in the IT. We're looking for a guy, and we've got a marketing team with 21 beautiful female marketeers to look at. And I'm like, right, you really think I want to work for your company? These are real ads. And it's not just in advertising, it's not just in recruitment, it's language bias everywhere. We all use it. I mean, I might enter this room and say, hi guys. And I don't mean any disrespect by that. And even the dictionary nowadays says that guys in that context is neutral. But it isn't really now, is it? But language bias is something we grow up with, which is very, very subtle. In Dutch, it's there's a way which is very clear. When you're talking about things guys do, quite often you'll just say it, and when you say the same thing about a woman, you'll add ch. You might make it smaller. It's very subtle, but all those things add up to language bias. And again, to people not feeling welcome. Lots of phrases. Things like over the hill. Things like
Man up.
man up. That's it. I'm not getting the right phrase in my head at this moment. So there's lots of language bias we have to take into account as well. And we all do it. You don't have to completely change your way of speaking, but be aware of it. Start being more aware of your own words and see if you can point it out when others do it as well. So basically, the grand total of trying to understand it is, if we want to win in the marketplace, competitiveness is all great and dandy, but only outside our own company. Inside our company, we want to work together. We want to be cooperative, we want to be inclusive. Outside on the marketplace, let's be competitive, but not amongst ourselves, because it will not help making people feel welcome. Now, what can we all do today? Before we start this section, one thing, we don't have all the answers either. There's so much more we could tell you about this topic, and there's also so many more solutions we can come up with together with you. Because you live in the IT industry every day as well. You experience it every day. So keep thinking about new solutions. But these are some suggestions and ideas we've asked people to bring to us, and some of our own ideas as well, which together hopefully will inspire you to come up with more ideas and to change little things in your daily routine, in your daily environment, and make a difference. Government.
So, most of the times I think government's not leading. I mean, it's not the government's got to fix everything. This is a problem the government needs to fix. But on the other hand, there are great solutions. For example, Denmark has the best laws for lesbians, gays, transgenders, and queers. And in the Netherlands, dedicated breast pump rooms are mandatory. So those are great examples which can lead to a better environment. And also, when you look at jobs, I mean, we're a fast-growing industry, and still we're looking for strong, hard people who are willing to compete. And I don't know about you, but the last time I went to the office, I didn't have a spear and a shield. So that doesn't work for me. And the things that you learned back in the days, I mean, handicapped versus impaired, those are the things that you've learned and that are not valid anymore. So check those kind of things. Language biases in a lot of things.
One of the things I think we desperately need to change, and in that sense, the country we are in today is like the worst scorer in that sense in Europe, equal pay. I still remember when I worked at some point for a recruitment in an IT company, that on average, starting salary for women was 30% less. And that's the average, what it's less on the whole in the Netherlands. If you take it broader than the Netherlands, salaries for women in the IT industry are structurally lower for doing the same work. I don't think it's fair. It doesn't motivate people to stay. It doesn't motivate people to feel of equal value to the company as their colleagues. So if you have a chance to speak up about that, if you have a chance to influence those kind of things, please do, because it is something which is just antiquated that this is still being done. Another thing, you know those company parties? The amount of times I see advertisement or letters people receive, you and your wife are invited. Seriously? You and your wife? You and your partner would be better already. But what about maybe just saying you and plus one? I mean, someone might not be in a relationship but still want to bring a friend. Why would you exclude people for not being in a relationship or make them feel less welcome? Simple things like that will make people again feel more welcome. Similarly, all those things people can do, Wouter already mentioned breast pump rooms, but also like if you are a startup company and you're young and happening, don't wait for the first person to get pregnant to start thinking about pregnancy regulations and what you as a company want to do to facilitate your employees to all feel welcome in that respect. Make sure that fathers can just as well take leave as mothers, because they're a parent too. Yeah, things like that, think about it beforehand and don't make it an afterthought. Don't make it something which is only, you know, happening when, if and when it actually becomes urgent. Similarly, I love this sign. I'm totally happy when I found this. Basically, make your work environment really welcoming for people. Some people will sometimes want to downwind and sit down in a quiet room. Some people feel comfortable having a workspace which is 100% accessible, which I think is awesome. And a lot of countries have laws, but not all of them. If you're physically handicapped and have to take the long way around and take 20 minutes longer to get to your desk, it does not make you feel welcome. Think about how your workspace, your company space is laid out and how people can feel welcome in that as well.
Yeah, so we earlier talked about jobs and about advertisement for that, and I still think we can do a lot of things better in that. I mean, you referenced already the advertisement that said that we were looking for a guy, and I already saw advertisement for people that said, oh, we have beers and we have Nerf guns, and you should feel welcome by that, and it doesn't work for me. So, no Nerf guns for me.
So it's not just me.
No Nerf guns for me. So, why don't we look for passionate people who are willing to learn and are to broaden our office landscape with new solutions instead of... So there's a work-life balance, and there's part-time jobs, and there's remote work, and there's all these things that we can think of to make people feel more welcome in our industry. And remote work, for example, would be a great option to have a lot of developers on board.
And then, of course, we're at conferences. Can I have an applause, please, for you, because you're here. Conferences are a great way to meet new people, but conferences do need a code of conduct. And not just a code of conduct which is just window dressing. I know I've had quite a few discussions with conference organizers about, some of them say, yeah, but the laws in our country are stricter than any code of conduct we could imagine. And my response is then, yeah, but does that mean that people from other countries who don't know your laws are not welcome at your conference? A code of conduct is just a way that everyone knows what the rules are of engagement with each other. And it should not be ridiculous and over the top either. I mean, people meet each other at conference, and if there's some flirting, that's fine. You have to know where the balance. is and where to know where to draw the line. And you also have to know who to report infractions to if needed. So as a conference organizer, please make sure there's a dedicated person for coding of conduct infractions. Make that person well known to everyone, like in the opening keynote. This person is the person you want to talk to if there's something wrong, if you don't feel welcome, if you don't feel included. And make sure they actually take action and take every complaint seriously. Otherwise, it's window dressing and not words the paper is written on. The same thing is that not everyone has the same values, the same way of dealing with each other. I mean, I meet lots of new people at a conference. I might have a great conversation with you later and feel like giving you a hug afterwards. But I'm not sure whether you're comfortable with that. Thank you. But generally, if you're unsure, why not just ask? We're going to overrun for 3 minutes. Just ask. Ask, are you okay with that? Ask, is it all right if I call you? If you're unsure, just ask people because they will give you an honest answer.
I don't know how it is with you, but I'm quite a little bit sensitive, so when I go to conferences and meet a lot of new people and get enthusiastic sometimes, then after a time I would like to have a silence room, maybe just to decompress a little and just make sure my head gets around and make sure I'll make it the second day, because all these new impressions, well, it's quite hard for me. And I don't know how it is here, but female fit shirts and extra large shirts, that's a really good idea to make people feel welcome. I mean, it's cheaper than ever to print shirts. So those few extras, just to make everybody feel welcome. And when I went to Rome, I think 2 months ago, I was at the entrance and there was this kind of sign. This is awesome. You know why? Because when I come there as a Dutch person, and it says welcome somewhere on that sign, I was like, I traveled all this way. I'm welcome here as well. Oh, that's quite cool. Easiest and cheapest way for a conference to do it.
And then we have communities. I presume you're all members of one or more meetups. Are you? You all go to meetups once in a while. If you don't, please do. Start doing that now, because it's a great way to meet new people and to get more embedded in the industry. But meetups might need some changes once in a while as well.
Yeah, so there's this beer and pizza culture, and I love pizza. Oh, pizza's my favorite dinner. But as a friend of mine recently stated, I went to 3 meetups in a week, and then pizza got really shitty, actually. So maybe something different, because 9 times out of 10, it's just giving the phone number of the food you want to a sponsor and say, hey, we need food for 60 persons, and this is the phone number, please organize it. So giving a different phone number is like really easy, and try to experiment with that and see what it does for your audience. And then there's advocacy groups. These are all groups that are there for minorities in the tech industry. And I really, really, really hope that one day they will all be obsolete and we can look back and say, oh, everybody's just welcome and we don't need groups for that. But for now, they are needed and they need your help. And they have great mentorships. So.
And also don't forget, a lot of these advocacy groups aren't just open for membership for the group they are advocates for. PHP Women, I think 80% of membership is male. People will want to change the industry, will want the PHP world to be more open, to lower the barriers. Therefore, everyone is welcome to become a member to actually support these groups. So have a look at that. If you want to support one of them, please do.
And as I told you earlier, mentorships, kids are the future. I mean, I've recently got in contact with Code the Dojo, which is a worldwide organization that learns kids how to code. And they are great. I mean, when you can explain something to someone, then you really understand it. Not when you know it, it's when you can explain it. And in South Africa, they understood that by organizing next to the PHP South Africa conference a Next Gen conference just for the kids, just to make them feel, get in contact with the tech industry. And that worked out great. I mean, saying all these positive things to your kids and making sure that they get in contact with the tech industry, supporting them when they want, and make them figure it out.
Think of it this way. If your kid at school is being told, math is not something for you, is that the right way to talk to your kid? Or is it saying like, hey, but you're great at that, let's encourage you, it's something you're enjoying, something you're good at, instead of discouraging what they might not enjoy or what they might not enjoy in the future. Don't think for them. Let them show you what they enjoy themselves. If we encourage kids from an early age on to enjoy everything, to actually look at IT as something fun and challenging, then we will make a change there as well. There was a school in Turkey which got new management, and when this management started, the people going into tech after that school was very low and nearly 100% male. 6 years later, she turned around the whole culture of teaching in that school, and the instrument into tech had gone up by 100%, and nearly half of it was women. So just by encouraging people, instead of discouraging people, by being positive in what how you speak to people, you make a difference. So,
parents, please tell your kids they're awesome, and please tell your kids they should do whatever they like.
and then we're going to close off. We are already overrunning, so we're going to close up very briefly. Basically, the simplest thing you can do to make a difference is to go up to 2 or 3 new people today, introduce yourself, have a little chat, and then introduce them to 2 or 3 more. If we do that, the more people you know, the more you feel, the next time you go somewhere, the more people you will recognize and feel comfortable with, and the easier it will become to stay in the industry rather than leave.
And also, we need allies. We need people who step up for others who can't. So if you're not feeling not welcome, so which means you're feeling welcome, then step up for the ones that don't. And I'm not that good with a large group of people, and I get a little shy sometimes, but you can talk to me, and I'm not antisocial, I'm just a little shy. So try that with the people around.
So basically, our message is, we don't have the complete answer either, but if every one of us takes 1 or 2 lessons from what we've talked today, let themselves be inspired by it to come up with even different solutions, and just be more aware of your environment and speak up when needed, help people feel welcome, I think together we can make a difference and we can change this industry. So thank you for being here, thank you for caring, and please let us give you an applause for willing to make the difference. Any questions? Or you're all completely flabbergasted now and just need a break? Find us afterwards. We'll still be around for a couple of more hours. So if you want to talk with us about this, come and find us. Thank you.